the tape for this, our main event of the evening. We introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
What's up, guys? We're here to go over Bellator 297 recap in Chicago this weekend. Solid card.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was fun. It was fun.
They had a little hiccup at the beginning. I guess there was no ambulance on the scene before the event started, so the event wasn't able to start for like 45 or 50 minutes late, and then they only end up getting, I want to say, 4 prelims done before the main card started.
Right.
And so they mixed up which ones they put on before the main card started, and then I think they ran like 8 post limbs after the main event.
Yeah.
And they ran till at least 1, probably later than that, in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Was one of Luke's fights, didn't he have one that was after 2 of them?
His first 2 were here at WinStar. He was a post limb on both of those, and then another time we were going to be, but ended up getting on before.
What's that do to a fighter to have to wait all the way through the main card?
So if you know already, you know that you're going to be late. Like, let's say you're one of the later prelims and they give you a heads up before, then it's not a big deal. It sucks that you're fighting late, but it's not a big deal. You're kind of aware. But for example, the last time, I think it was not California, Phoenix, when we fought in Phoenix, when we were on the way there, the guy's telling us if there's any decisions in these first few fights, you'll be on the post limbs. And we're like, oh, that sucks. And then as we get there, there's been 2 decisions and 2 knockouts. And I'm looking at right as we got off the bus, we're walking in the arena, and I'm looking up, and they've got a board up there with the time and the fights. And I'm thinking, I was like, we're still going to get on. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, no, we're definitely going to get on. Sure enough, we got on, and so did someone fight after us, before the main card started. So that was kind of a little scatter thing at the beginning. And then the worst one was at WinStar, his second fight. We were supposed to be on the prelims, and then they came to us and said, hey, you'll probably get on before the main card. So we warmed up, got ready, and then they came and said, not going to get on. So he laid down to take a nap, and 2 fights in, they come in and say, hey, if this fight ends in the first round, we're going to put you on the main card. So jumped up, jump rope, started warming up again, and then it went into a decision. So we had to lay back down and chill for another almost 2 hours till the main card was over, and then he was on the post limbs.
So you were that close to being on the main card?
Yeah, they were going to put us on of all the guys that they were going to throw on the main card. He was the one they were picking on his second fight, which is really cool.
Wow.
But we went through that pre-fight ready 3 times in one night. That was rough. That was rough.
Yeah, that's awful. Well, let's jump into these fights. First fight was ARCHIE COLGAN and Emmanuel Sanchez, unanimous decision. I thought COLGAN looked pretty dominant in this fight.
Yeah, he did. He's got great wrestling. To be honest, Emmanuel Sanchez lost, right? Decision.
Yep.
Which is his fifth in a row. So I don't know what Bellator does with him. He's a very good fighter. He fights at 45 and 55. I think he's a little light for the 55 division. I think anybody that fights at 45 and 55 has got to be small for the 55 division, because 55 is like the biggest of the small guys.
Yeah.
And they typically are guys who are like somewhere bounced between 70 and 55, So to go down from there, or to go up from there, it's tough. But yeah, I honestly thought it was a close fight. He was very busy on the ground. He kept COLGAN in a little bit of trouble here and there on the ground. It was a good fight. I was bummed that he lost, to be honest. I know that COLGAN's got a nice streak going, like Luke. I think he's at 7 now, maybe 7 or 8. And so it's good for him to keep building, but I was just hoping that Emmanuel Sanchez could save his job.
COLGAN's 8.
8, yeah.
8-0 now.
Same.
But yeah, you got to believe that Sanchez probably, you go in a 5-fight skid like that. Yeah. And we talked about this last time. He does have some strong losses. Strong opponents. He's faced some really tough opponents. But
Sanchez?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Sanchez. Yes.
The whole lineup basically.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, from here it's hard to think that he's gonna continue to stay.
Yeah.
I hope somebody picks him up because I think he's
Oh
a
yeah,
good
he'll
fighter.
definitely be able to go somewhere. He's just, I don't know. He's been struggling. Do you have him pulled up? How are the losses? Gotta be mostly decisions, right?
Pitbull guillotined him. Everyone else is a unanimous
Okay.
decision. So his last 4 losses are unanimous decisions.
Yep. So yeah, I hope he ends up if he gets cut, hopefully he ends up somewhere, doing well. I think he's one of those guys that's too good for the regional scene, and maybe just struggling at the big show. So we'll see what happens.
Timo Hizarev and Richie Smolin.
Yeah. So, did you watch that fight or no?
I did not catch that fight.
That fight was a good fight. Richie Smolin is kind of exactly what I thought he would be if Luke fought him. He can't wrestle. He's good on the ground, but he's not phenomenal on the ground, And as soon as the fight was over, Josh Thompson said, "John, who would you like to see him fight next?" And he goes, "Honestly, I'd like to see him fight Lucas Brennan." He goes, "Lucas Brennan has the wrestling to wrestle with him. He's got the ground game. You've seen what he's been doing to all his opponents. Richie Smolins has good ground, but not on the level of Lucas Brennan. I'd like to see that." And I was like, well, we're booked right now. but
Did you know that Big John was talking that way? Like, did you anticipate that before the
no,
fight?
not at all. I mean, John knows. I've actually had a conversation with John in the last couple of weeks about him and Weber Almeida.
Oh, yeah.
And so just kind of bounce some things off him with that. But when he said that, I was like, well, we're booked. Are trying to book us again right after. But yeah, that's a good fight as well. Like he's very good. Good striking, hits hard, good wrestling. Doesn't have much on the ground. He's got that Dagestani. I don't even know if he's from Dagestan, but he's got that top pressure, that Russian top pressure,
He is from Dagestan. He's a Dag fighter.
Yeah, but I don't know, his finishing is not, he avoided the ground a bit with Richie. But, yeah, that's a fight that we'll probably see in the future.
13-0, man.
Yeah.
That's a good competitor. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, for sure. He's
that's
solid. 13-0 is like damn good record.
That would be awesome. I'd love to see that. Anything noteworthy for you on either fighters other than?
No, like again, Richie's like a good jiu-jitsu guy, and he's tough, right? He takes hard punches from guys. He throws hard punches. He's not a super great striker, but he's Irish, man. He literally was like, that's basically like saying someone's Mexican. They can stand there and fight you all night long, and he did that. But he also, has the jiu-jitsu threat. He just has no wrestling threat.
Looking at his record, he's gone back and forth between RFP and Bellator. His Bellator record right now looks like he's got four fights, and he looks like he's 4-2. So when he's 1-1 in his last, do you feel like Bellator still keeps him?
He's not even on the roster. I don't believe he's even on the roster. Okay. That's why he's fighting in other organizations, I believe. To be honest, I can tell you that in 2 seconds. But, I'm sure they would keep him anyway. They like all the guys from Kavanaugh's gym, from SBG.
Yep.
But I don't know. Let me look here real quick.
And if I guess it's hard to get signed on a loss. I guess you probably would never see that really happen, right?
He's a 55er, right? Oh, no, he's a 45er. He's our weight.
Yeah.
What'd you say about getting signed off a loss?
Yeah.
Probably not. Oh, he is signed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Third fight under the for the undercard was Cody Law and Edwin Chavez. This went all 3 rounds. Cody Law won a unanimous decision here.
Right. So what was Chavez's record again?
I'm gonna pull it up.
6-4, 6-2.
He is now 6-5, so he came in.
He
at
was
6-4.
Right. So I thought, and I think I said it, Cody Law is going to make it look easy. He's hungry. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
This kid was tough. he was a game fighter. I don't know what his jiu-jitsu background is, but I can tell you that Cody Law is on the ground. He is 100% a wrestler. He has no. I know he's choked guys, a few guys, and I'm sure it's because he beat him up first. Because he does hit hard. He does have good striking, and he obviously has good wrestling. But he avoids the ground with guys like Chris Lencioni, with guys like James Gonzalez, both jiu-jitsu black belts. Not as good as Lucas. And this guy, even for the most part. And he's in trouble anytime he's on the ground with those guys. I've watched him get into all sorts of trouble. In my opinion, I know I bring up Luke a lot. If he fought Cody, Cody would not want to get a take. Not one. He would not want to get one takedown in that fight, or he'd be in trouble for the rest of the night. Like, I just don't see. He gets in trouble right away on the ground, and he has good punches and ground and pound on somebody who's not attacking him. But as soon as he gets attacked, no punches are thrown on the ground the whole time he's on the ground because he's busy defending everything. And I had mentioned, or I had messaged Rich, and I was like, man, I know a couple of guys have gotten cut off wins. I said, he's 0-2 in his last two, and now wins like this. And he goes, nah, he'll stay. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, he didn't look great, and I was a fan kind of his fighting before,
absolutely.
But as him and Luke were coming up, and I thought he might go 0-3 because he was getting the takedowns, but the rest of the fight, the guy, people went off their back recently,
Yes.
and one judge gave it a 29-28, so they gave one of the rounds to that guy off his back. And so I just I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and he won, and I guess maybe he did what he needed to do to keep his job if he just needed to get a W in there and not risk anything. But I was not impressed with him in this fight for sure.
Interesting.
The other guy actually looked pretty good.
I think that, again, going back to getting signed off a loss, you don't see it happen very often,
No.
but he's not a Bellator fighter.
Yeah, so he probably will not get signed. Maybe they'll bring him back again, to fight somebody else, and then that might change. But I don't know.
Let's move to the main card. This first fight, I butchered his name. Saracham, Gokhan Saracham versus Daniel James. So my wife actually sat down and watched this fight with me, and she was looking at the size difference, and she was shocked.
Giant.
And then to see Saracham take him down multiple times,
Yeah.
and really kind of control a lot of the fight. I was super impressed with what he did.
I talked to him afterwards for a little bit, messaged him. He's the guy I told you we were talking at the PI.
Yes.
And I told him that, and I said, man, keep your hands up. He's a monster. He's giant, and he hits hard.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he went out there and dominated.
How do you drill taking down somebody that's 40 pounds heavier than you? Taking down
someone that's 40 pounds heavier. You've got to have people in your camp. You can't train with your normal team unless you have guys like that on your normal team.
Yeah.
You have to bring somebody in order to do that. And I don't know how big Spivak is, who fights in the UFC. That's who he was with at the PI.
Okay.
I don't know what weight. I don't know if he's a 205er or I think he's fighting. He might be a heavyweight. I'm not sure, but regardless, you have to have someone in there. It's just like if you fight a southpaw, right?
Right.
You can't train orthodox with an orthodox fighter the whole time to get ready for a southpaw. I mean, you can, but you're not going to perform the way you'd like.
Sure.
A big guy, especially if you want to get takedowns on him, you've got to wrestle with a big guy. Tall guy, big, broad shoulders. I get that guy's huge.
Spivak is listed in UFC at 6'3" and 260.
Oh, so he's a heavyweight. So that's who he was wrestling with.
What the heavyweight window was big,
Huge.
right? Isn't it
205 to 265?
Okay, yeah.
Which is even crazy that they stop at 265 because wrestling stops at 285. So like someone like Brock had to come down to 265 from like 320. Like he was walking, over 300 pounds and had to make 265. So they can't even make the wrestling heavyweight. They have to make 20 pounds lighter than that. It's tough for some big guys.
Yeah, that's nuts. Gokin, he improves now with this win. Now he goes to 9-2.
Nice.
He was ranked 10th coming in. Daniel James was ranked 4th.
Right, so that's going to move him up.
Yeah, I don't know if
sure.
we've seen anything, but you got to assume that there's going to be a pretty significant flip-flop there.
Yeah, I doubt James goes back to 10 for sure, but he will most likely jump up somewhere in the 4-5 area.
Probably a fight or two away from a title shot.
Yep, and Bader has that belt, right, at the moment?
Yeah, I believe that he does, yeah. I think that's right.
Yeah.
He's busy right now. Well, he's not. I've been watching the Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, okay.
He's been coaching in there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember I brought up to Bellator that we were going to the UFC to corner Tim Elliott, and Luke was going to be in the UFC gear and the clothes and everything. I was like, is that all right? And they, we appreciate you asking and whatnot, but yes, we got 2 guys that are coaching right now on the Ultimate Fighter and whatnot. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I just want to make sure that it wasn't some breach of anything, like not even if it wasn't in the contract, but just like didn't want to piss him off.
Absolutely. That was a good fight. I was shocked
yeah.
to see that one.
Dominant.
And excited for Gokin. Corey Anderson and Phil Davis. This was a split decision that went Corey Anderson's way. How did you see this fight?
I liked Phil Davis.
Did you?
Yeah, I think they're both great. I think the fight was exciting. Corey Anderson was getting takedowns, but the second it was hitting the ground, Phil Davis was so funky, man. He flipped in the air one time and ended up on Corey Anderson's back.
I think that was in round 1.
Yeah, the first takedown. It was like a spin.
Yes.
And it was something, if you look all the way back at Carlos Newton and Dan Henderson in the UFC, Carlos Newton did that, and it was so cool to see. And Phil Davis, a big boy, and he did it. And then he hits another, like a switch to sit the corner and get behind him on another takedown. His counter wrestling was really good and into good positions. So I just thought he looked good. I thought he was going to win the decision. Was it split?
It was split, and I was looking. All 3 judges gave Anderson round 1.
Okay. I would have gave Phil round 1 just for the flip.
Right. And then, they called. I thought, I'm just looking through here, and this looks like it says split decision, but I'm looking at SureDog scores, and I don't see where the split is because
They're all the same.
They're all the same. 10-9, 10-9. Anderson, all 3 for Anderson. Round 2, all 3 for Anderson. Round 3, all 3 went for Davis. So I don't understand where they call it a split decision.
All 3 judges went the same. Oh yeah, then it's not split.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see where they call it a split. You talked about Phil Davis's body type and how his torso's super long and his lats start about halfway up his torso.
His legs are long. His legs are long.
Yes.
His torso seems short, but the waist, the lats start so high that his waist is long.
Yeah,
it's very strange,
super
athletic
weird
as hell though.
Yeah, I mean he looks like almost a weird superhero.
Yes.
It almost looks like a cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. But yeah, the scramble. I actually my wife will sit down and watch him sometimes. I'm like, you've got to see this. And I backed up and showed how he dumped him. And all of a sudden you see Phil Davis somehow, by the time it's all said and done, he's on his back. And I'm like, it's like a magic trick.
Once Corey Anderson was getting the takedown, Phil Davis just went with it and continued with it and rolled all the way through. It was very cool.
Awesome. It was awesome. You're a fan of both of them, but you said you liked Phil Davis. Was it just because of the defense he had and
No, I've always kind of liked. He's kind of a Kimura guy also.
Yeah.
He tried one from the feet. He's finished with one-arm Kimuras a couple times. He wrestled at Penn State. He's a damn good wrestler. I don't know where Corey wrestled, but I know that he did. But I just like Phil Davis. He's getting older as well, so I wanted to see him kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
And just kind of stay in that top spot, that top couple. I mean, I'm sure he still stays highly ranked, Well, they were 1 and 2, right?
Or 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, something like that. They were pretty high.
He'll stay up there, but yeah, I want to see him kind of get a couple more good ones in before he's done.
One of the two title fights, a co-main event.
So disappointing.
Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull. This went the whole distance, and it was a unanimous decision. I believe it was also the correct decision.
Sure.
For Pettis, 49-46 and 2 50-45s. I actually, when I was thinking about that, I kind of called. I thought it'd be a unanimous.
Was it the 5th round to Pitbull?
Yeah, let me look and see on the scoring right here. No, it was the first round.
Yeah, because he got a takedown the first round and he had the most ground control that he had in the fight.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed watching the fight. I don't know that Sergio Pettis has a ton of power, but Pitbull fought him like he doesn't have any power, and Pettis had all the power. Right. You know, he was very hesitant the whole time and stood there and didn't throw and would get picked off and didn't throw back. And I thought it was so strange with the guys and the opponents he's fought at 55 and 45. I don't know if the cut affected him. I don't know if the cut made him worried about the cardio, so he didn't push the pace. But at some point, you got to throw caution to the wind and go, you know?
Especially in round 3 when you're potentially, I guess, you know, if in his head he said, no, I've got round 1 in the bag, did not have round 2. And at some point you have to start doing the math. I'm like, look, if I'm going to win this fight, I've really got to get after it. And
at some point when you're out of rounds, you now know you got to finish the fight.
Yes.
You know, and that urgency never came.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what he says, you know, about the fight and you know, whether he has an excuse or not. I would actually like to hear it, just because I'm curious about why he fought the way he fought. You know, he has a chin, and he hits very hard, so I thought he would get in it a little bit more, get in the pocket a little bit more. He got hit with that spinning wheel kick that rocked him, you know, and then he was kind of weird, you know, the rest of the fight. But it wasn't that. He was like that. He was already, you know, very, very cautious.
When he got hit with that spinning wheel kick, his feet, the way he was walking backwards.
Oh yeah, he was rocked.
He was
on skates for a second.
Yeah, but like, it was. I haven't seen, his knees weren't weak. It was like he was walking on like a moving belt or something. Right. It was just the motion was really weird to me. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it was. I was like, is he pretending? I was like, no, that's real. He really did get hurt.
Said the pretending for the next one. But yeah, that was, I was shocked to see, especially since Pettis came back. He hadn't been in the cage in 18 months, I think they said, and he did not look like he'd been away for 18 months. He looked sharp. His hands looked quick. He was throwing good combos.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he's very good. You know, he's not great on the ground. He was getting beat by Horiguchi all the way till the last minute. You know, there are guys who are going to expose his weaknesses, and I thought Pitbull would be the guy to do it because of the experience he has fighting so many different guys. But yeah, he just didn't do it. And when the fight first ended, he put his hand up when he turned around. I was like, put your hand down, bro. Don't look dumb. You know, so he did put it down, but I was like, you cannot think you won that fight. Like, I think he was like hoping that, or in his head, you know, he's used to it, wanting to have won, but he had to know he didn't.
So 2 questions. The first one is on that. I have heard a lot of coaches, and I've heard people say after every round, put your hand up and show the coaches or show the judges that you think you won, and look at the other opponent and put your hand up as a way of saying, look, whatever happened, I'm not gassed.
Right.
Is there something to that? Is that?
I don't know. I'm not opposed to looking at your opponent or not sitting on the stool,
right,
or kind of bouncing up and down the whole time. You know, let them know you're in shape and you're standing there and you're good to go. But I don't know about raising your hand. I was never cocky before the fight.
Yeah,
arrogant, shit talker before the fight.
Yeah.
After the fight, if the person had talked trash before, leading up to the fight,
Right.
then I might say something, you know. But it's MMA, man, and I tell everyone this is not a inch, 2 inch, 3 inch sport. It is a freaking centimeter sport of you getting your head knocked off your shoulders.
Yeah.
It is a split second of you getting your head knocked off your shoulders. So anything can happen. So to run your mouth, one day you are 100% going to look like an idiot, you know. So I wasn't a fan of that before the fight stuff, but there are a lot of people making a lot of money doing it.
Don James is an old college football coach, and he used to yell at his team when they would run their mouth. He said, "You're making yourself look bad either way. If you say your opponent's trash, when you beat him, you minimize your victory.
Beat trash.
You just beat trash.
Right.
And if you say your opponent's trash and you lose to them, now you look even worse.
Yep.
So just don't talk any crap. Go out there and let your game talk." Yep. And I think there's wisdom in that on both sides.
For sure. For sure.
All right, the fight we all tuned in for, Nemkov and Romero. I was a little let down by this fight just because I didn't think it was as exciting as I hoped it would be.
Yoel Romero has been a opponent in multiple fights that went that way. Multiple fights. Him and Adesanya, terrible fight.
Yep.
Him and I forget who he had fought last that he lost to, or who he lost to before his win, or before his 2 wins in a row. Was it Phil Davis?
Pull it up here.
Also, super boring fight. The problem with a guy like that is he has the touch you knockout power, right? Doesn't have to land clean, doesn't have to be his hardest punch, he can knock you out. So everyone fights him very cautious. He also fights super cautious and defensive. And so why, I don't know, because he's got a very good chin.
Yeah,
He's
he
very
took some
hard
shots.
There's a video running around of him taking head kicks from multiple people or from the same people and just eating it like it's nothing. And so he has the chin, he has the powers, and he's hard to take down. So why would you not want to be aggressive and get out of there, you know? So Nemkov made Nemkov looked great, and you all made him look greater. He made him look better. You know, he was a punching bag.
Yeah.
And Nemkov is very good, man, and so underrated by people who are only UFC fans. Like that guy, he could go over there and fight with all the 205ers, no problem. You know, and so I don't know what he does next, or I don't know what Yoel does next either. But he just, you know, I'm sure he gets paid a lot of money, and he doesn't put on a great performance unless it's somebody that he can run over.
It's hard to think he's going to headline another event with that kind of fight, though.
Probably not. Not.
It's hard. Two things really struck me that I've never seen before. The first one was the rope-a-dope that he was doing, where he was staggering and it seems like he almost overdid it. I mean, it just
definitely
looked.
That's when I knew he was in trouble. Like we were watching, it's like that's when we knew he started acting that way after he wasn't winning any of the exchanges. He wasn't winning anything. It was just kind of like, okay, now I need to try something else, and this is not working. One time he got teeped in the face when he was bouncing down that way. I was calling it like, throw the teep in the face, throw the teep in the face. But just not a great performance by him, and a great performance by Nemkov.
The other thing that I had never seen before is I've never seen hammer fists to the leg.
Yeah.
He threw a couple hammer fists to the thigh of Nemkov. I've never seen that before. I've seen
a few people throw that. Actually, the big boys in here use those as well. John and Kyler, they beat the snot out of each other yesterday, but they were throwing those in the mix of them against the wall.
It must be effective.
Just a reaction. Yeah,
Okay.
You're going to get a reaction out of it because it will start to hurt the front of your leg for sure.
And it's different, obviously. It's coming from a different spot that you're not expecting.
Correct.
It seems like that would be really difficult to defend. You're opening yourself up when you're throwing that, obviously. But it seems like it's hard to defend that because it's coming from such a weird place.
Yeah. It is. It's just like the foot stomps. You know, you're standing there thinking about knocking takedown, thinking about watching for knees, and all of a sudden, you just smashed my foot.
You broke 3 bones at the top of my foot.
So it's just another creative strike, I guess.
Yeah, I had never seen that before. Nemkov moves to 16-2. Successfully defends his title.
Do you know how I went on the night?
Oh boy, I'd have to go back and
I called him.
Let's go back. Hold on, let me go to the whole card here because I think you did really, really good. I meant to look at that before we started. You missed on Pitbull.
Yeah.
You correctly called Corey. You correctly called Gokin. You correctly called Nemkov. And then if we go to the undercard, you correctly called Law. You correctly called ARCHIE, COLGAN, and you called Timur as well. So 7 fights, you went 6 for 7.
And everyone could have missed the Pitbull one.
That's okay. So yeah, 6 for 7 is not bad on a card.
Nice.
So
cool.
Awesome.
I don't know what happens for Nemkov now or who he fights. I don't know in the rankings who's next under him from UL. Were there 2 people that fought recently that was to kind of get to that spot, or number 1 and number 2?
I think that Corey Anderson, Phil Davis was the winner of that was going to be.
There we go.
So it's Corey but it's not. Is it going to be Corey? I mean, I guess it's the trilogy.
I don't know if they'd put that together
that?
next or not. They might give someone else a crack at him. I'm not sure if they'll put that together right away, but he called out Nemkov afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, like if I'm Nemkov, I'm like, look, I fought 4 times, and 3 of them I'm training for the same dude.
Right.
You've heard Izzy say that. He's like, give me something new. I don't, give me something different.
Yeah.
I'd
like to see him fight somebody else first.
Yeah.
And then get back to him.
You can't fight Phil Davis because he just lost, but that'd be an interesting fight.
Yeah, that'd be a slap in the face to Corey Anderson if they put that together.
What the heck? I won. So awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next time. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
It is all over, just like that.